Okay, welcome back. This is tape 2. In case you've gotten lost, we're on tape 2. This will be the third side in the series. Right now we're up to March 18th, 1975, and it's Billy's 8th contact with Semjase from the star cluster known as the Pleiades. The interesting topic that happened in that particular meeting, Billy had some questions that he was getting now from his group members. When he would go out for a contact, he would, of course, come back and tell everybody about what happened, and they would discuss the information because, excuse me, they were all starting to take part in actually helping him get the information together. Billy would type it out very roughly, and then they would clean it up. So already they were forming kind of like a work group to help him out. And along with that, of course, they had a lot of questions of their own, and since they weren't able to go on the contacts with Billy, quite frequently they would give questions to Billy to have him ask Semjase. And she would try to entertain the questions whenever possible. And this brought up a pretty good group of questions on this occasion. And the first one is, Billy jumped right off and says, "What is matter?" Well, she says, matter is a sizable idea. It is a solid form of energy that can be sizable. What she's referring to here is this, that throughout the universe, energy and matter are everywhere, and that you can take energy and you can convert it to matter, and depending on how much you can convert, you could convert it to any sizable amount of matter. All energies can be turned into solid matter. It's only necessary to condense the concerning energy very strongly and concentrate it very highly. Now, of course, they say it's very simple. The process by which you actually do that might be a little difficult, but we do that to some extent already. We convert ethers, gases, and so forth into different things now and make certain compounds and metals and so forth. So we're working on it. What we do is, once you concentrate a certain energy, you can convert it into a solid matter, and this provides the basic building blocks of solid components. You create the neutron, the proton, and the electron. This forms the atoms of the chemical compounds, which then in their three aggregate forms form the solid outer wrap. And this is something that our scientists, I'm sure, are quite aware of by now. This means that the original energy is absolute matter, and original matter is absolute energy. General idea is that the entire universe is either matter or energy. It's either solid or it's non-solid. Coarse matter is what matter is. Solid matter is what the Pleiadians refer to as coarse matter. Okay? Energy is what they refer to as fine matter. Earlier we talked a little bit about, our spirits, when they leave the body, they go into the fine matter world. Well, the fine matter world is an energy form world. It's not a solid matter or a coarse matter world. Okay? She mentioned that it's possible to create machines which actually convert matter to energy and vice versa. And apparently they understand that concept quite well. A side effect or an outdrawing of that might be the fact that they were able to take Billy into the ship, much like we see on Star Trek, where they would beam him up, somehow where the particles of his body would come apart, be arranged back inside of the ship. So they're having control of converting the solid matter of a person into fine matter and then putting it back into coarse matter. This also is one of the main ways that they actually move their ships around the galaxy, which we'll talk a little bit more about pretty soon. The most natural form of what we're talking about here, converting energy into matter, is done by the creation itself. And here again we find the Pleiadians bringing up this idea of what the creation is. They openly admitted to Billy that they didn't know everything about creation, but through their technology and their association with other races, they were learning a lot more about the actual creative energy that creates the universe and everything in it. So when they refer to the creation, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about the original source of energy that created all things in the universe. Commonly on our planet, we generally refer this to as a god, but they're saying that gods are actually physical forms that are created in the universe by creation, just like everyone else. That gods are actually humans that have on the very highest development of knowledge, and that their knowledge of the elements and the laws of nature and the laws of creation are so high that it seems to us that they are creating things, when mostly they're just manipulating or generating things because of no knowledge. That the real force, the real creative force in the universe is what they're calling a creation. They have discovered that creation naturally on its own creates an idea of spiritual energy. And this is what they believe. They say that the creational force that started this universe, and we'll go much farther, more into depth in this on the tape series at the end, is that the creation has the idea of spiritual energy. The spiritual energy then is converted into different forms of matter, which begin to evolve, and everything throughout the universe then has logical reasoning to it. And the rocks, the planets, the animals, us, everything that is solid, which is coarse matter, has natural logic to it, and is part of the mapping, you might say, or the knowledge of the creational energy. So, since everything in the universe is coarse matter, and or it is fine matter, they can be converted easily back and forth once the knowledge is known. So, that was her general explanation of what matter actually was. In relationship to his second question, which was, what about the theory of relativity, and especially the dilation of time, because somebody in the group, of course, was familiar with Einstein's theory, E equals mc squared, which stands for energy equals mass times the speed of light square. They were curious as to what Semjase would say about that, and if there was truth to it, if it was really a valid theory. Well, she says, well, in relationship to actually moving in space and space travel, there are many different ways to overcome space. As a matter of fact, there was way too many for her to expand upon, but she says the one main thing, no matter which method you actually use, you must learn to master what they call hyperspace. Because in hyperspace, this is where a time dilation is caused by the process of moving into hyperspace. She says this is where the theory of relativity is wrong, where it becomes just a theory. Okay? The turning off of a time dilation or time shift is caused by the breaking open of hyperspace. Well, how do you break into hyperspace? Well, here's a little short explanation that can go along with Exhibit 1 on your drawings there of the beam ship. We mentioned earlier that a beam ship can take off, leave Earth, move up to tremendous speeds. It makes a jump, and then it jumps to the Pleiades, returns in the physical form, and slows down. It takes 7 hours. The 7 hours are spent speeding up, slowing down, and the jump is almost instantaneous. Well, the jump is very, very fast. She says what actually happens is when that ship speeds up, it's protected by an energy field around it, because as you move any matter in space, as it begins to move, there is actually mass in space. It's like if you have a boat in water. The faster you go, you feel the force against you, right? Even when you're swimming. Well, in space, which we think of as a vacuum, it actually is not. There is mass in space. And when you speed an object up to 50,000 miles an hour, 100,000 miles an hour, 1,000,000 miles an hour, speed of light is approaching 700 and some million miles an hour, something like that. You're moving at incredible speeds. There is a mass buildup, and that mass will attempt to actually cause the explosion of your craft that you're in, because the mass will keep building. So what they do is they've learned to put energy screens around the ship that protect it from this mass speed correlation. And at the certain point when they get up around the speed of light or beyond it, they can accelerate way beyond it if they want to, they use this tremendous force to facilitate what they call the paralyzation. They turn off the protection screens around it. At that moment, there's a tremendous increase in the velocity of the ship as it bursts forward, and at that exact time, there's a tremendous enlarging of the mass, then, of that energy screen as it's coming in. They use that to facilitate some sort of compression concept, where the ship is then converted to fine matter, and it's a type of fine matter that can exist in hyperspace. So that's exactly what they do. She says that it happens very quickly, the matter gets distorted, and with a millionth of a second,